The UK welcomes 2023 with spectacular fireworks as crowds are allowed back at celebrations in London and Edinburgh for the first time since Covid began.
Good morning from the centre of London, where performers are getting ready for this year's New Year's Day parade. The cheerleaders from Varsity Spirit have a message for you this morning. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Goodbye, Sensei. Happy New Year. Goodbye, Sensei.
We're just under 6 hours away from seeing in the new year, but for many around the world, 2023 has already started with a few big bangs. Around 1 million people watched in Sydney as Australia kicked off the celebrations with their famous firework display over the Harbour Bridge and Opera House. Hong Kong has scrapped all COVID restrictions for visiting tourists just in time to witness these scenes at Victoria Harbour, the host of grand New Year celebrations there. And in Taiwan, the iconic Taipei 101 skyscraper played host to the beginning of 2023 with 16,000 fireworks over the course of just 5 minutes.
And finally, countries around the world have already begun celebrating the new year with some spectacular firework displays. This was Sydney in Australia, with the famous Harbour Bridge at the centre of festivities there. Hong Kong has welcomed the new year with a multimedia light show over Victoria Harbour, and Taiwan launched 2023 with light beams and lasers emanating from its landmark Taipei 101 building as the clock struck midnight.
We're expecting fireworks any second now. It's New Year 2023 in Brazil. Beach, all the colours of the Brazilian flag, a bit of red there as well. Brazil seeing in 2023 in style. Fireworks along Copacabana Beach in the country's city of Rio de Janeiro. 2 million people there all along the seafront.
So Happy New Year. Sunday morning, the 1st of January 2023, and our top story this morning sees cities around the world welcoming the new year with large crowds gathering for fireworks and light displays, many of course for the first time since the start of the COVID pandemic. In London, Big Ben signalled the start of a spectacular display which included a tribute to Queen Elizabeth. Louisa Pilbeam reports.
Times have changed, and with COVID restrictions lifted in most parts of the world, fireworks lit up skies with crowds able to watch below. In London, 100,000 people on the banks of the Thames, and a moment of royal reflection.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service.
People came from around the globe, happy to watch the tradition in person again.
Amazing. Got goosebumps everywhere. This is my first time in London, but it made me amazing.
That was awesome.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
In Edinburgh, Hogmanay was back with a bang, welcoming crowds for the first time in 3 years in typically fine spirits. But one of the first to the party, as always, New Zealand. And Australia turned up in their usual flamboyant style. China recently lifted many of their COVID restrictions, meaning people could gather in large crowds. Paris was chic as ever. And in Kyiv, muted celebrations, a new year and approaching a year since the Russian invasion. Then it was time for perhaps the most famous celebrations of all in New York. A world in different lights then, seeing in 2023 with the same hopes for a brighter year. Louisa Pilbeam, BBC News.
2023 has arrived all over the world by now. In cities across the UK, large crowds greeted the new year. In London, the chimes of Big Ben were followed by a tribute to Queen Elizabeth. In Edinburgh, revellers enjoyed the first full Hogmanay celebrations in 3 years. Sancha Berg's report on the global celebrations does contain flashing images.
For 2023, New Year celebrations are back around the world. In New York, partygoers in Times Square relished the moment. Thousands squashed together, only a handful wearing masks. In London, thousands filled the banks of the Thames, relieved after Covid and a difficult 2022.
Happy New Year, and hopefully this year is better than last year, hopefully.
After the year we've had, it is phenomenal.
Years we've had.
No, but the year we've had in general, like with the cost of living, the inflation, the politics of the country, it's just been upheaval. It's the one time we all come together.
This is London.
The fireworks welcomed in the new year and marked the losses of the old.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service.
In Edinburgh, the first Hogmanay events in 3 years were sold out across the city, despite rain and freezing temperatures. And in Paris, crowds filled the Champs-Élysées for the fireworks. Local media estimated 1 million people came to cheer in 2023. There were smiling crowds too in the Chinese city of Wuhan, where the pandemic began nearly 3 years ago and where Covid is back. The Chinese authorities say the situation is under control, but several countries, including the UK, are bringing back Covid tests for travellers from China. Sancha Berg, BBC News.
Good afternoon. Millions of people around the world have been celebrating the new year. Here, the bongs of Big Ben set off a spectacular fireworks display, the first major celebrations in the capital since the pandemic. And in Edinburgh, 30,000 filled the streets for the first big public Hogmanay party in 3 years. Alex Isaac reports on how the world welcomed 2023.
The whole world has welcomed the new year, with the American continent the last to raise a glass to 2023. Covid masks were noticeably absent in Times Square, and many took advantage to get up close and personal when the clock struck midnight.
It was rough, rough pandemic, and we just want a happy 2023.
And we want things to get back to normal again.
It's important to slow down and be grateful for what you got.
With reduced celebrations over the past few years, many countries were determined to come back with a bang. In London, huge crowds gathered along the Thames embankment to watch 12,000 fireworks streak across the sky. The sold-out event sent a message of love and unity, showcasing support for Ukraine, 50 years of London pride, and included a poignant tribute to the late Queen and the King, as well as highlights from the past year. Despite the rain, spirits were high in Edinburgh as the Hogmanay party returned for the first time in 3 years.
It's nice, it's a really nice vibe, you know, good energy.
2023, baby! We're warm, we're wet, but we're warm and we're happy. It's good.
And kicking off the 2023 celebrations in style was New Zealand. And festivities continued worldwide. The skies above Sydney lit up. Beaches were packed in Brazil. Hong Kong dazzled with lights. In Paris, the Arc de Triomphe was alight as fireworks burst overhead. And it was a record-breaking display in Dubai, with 828 million fireworks set off from 287 locations. As celebrations wind down and the reality of a new year begins, the world can remember how it began, with a spectacular bang. Alex Isat, ITV News.